two student groups on either side of the issue.
Ending both Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voice for Peace after the school says culminating in unauthorized events on Thursday afternoon on campus that proceeded despite warnings and included threatening rhetoric and intimidation happened. So that's why they took those steps.
Fox's Alexis McAdams in Manhattan, where another large pro-Palestinian rally is expected today after protesters stormed the New York Times building yesterday. At the University of Maryland, Holocaust 2.0 was found written in chalk on campus, along with other messages accusing the U.S. of being complicit in genocide. Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying earlier today that more needs to be done to protect civilians and make sure humanitarian aid reaches them.
Far too many Palestinians have been killed. Far too many have suffered these past weeks.
Israeli military spokesman Major Doron Spielman just telling Fox News.
I think Secretary Blinken is saying the correct thing. I do believe, however, in order to prevent these innocent civilians from being killed, Hamas has to stop embedding their terror infrastructure amongst civilians and shooting at Israel from those areas.
Some 80,000 Gazans evacuating urban areas just today. There's been intense fighting near the main hospital in Gaza City, where Israel says Hamas has a stronghold. Just getting reports that the electronic devices of the New York City mayor, Eric Adams, were seized this week by the FBI, which had searched the home of Adams' chief campaign fundraiser as part of an ongoing investigation. The New York Times reporting that at least 2 cell phones and an iPad were seized from the mayor and returned to him within a matter of days. Wall Street rallies. The Dow up 391 points at the bell. America is listening to Fox News.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Okay, next time you're at the store, I dare you to not think about the unmistakable fresh, clean scent of Irish Spring. Yeah, you heard me. I want you to resist picturing a shower filled with those sensational Irish Spring suds. And if you succeed, well, you got what my gramps used to call resolutitude. Not a real word, but let's be honest, you're probably going to end up leaving with Irish Spring because of its irresistible scent and because you have zero resolutitude. Pick up Irish Spring at Walmart today.
A ballot counting delay for some of this week's local elections around the country after suspicious letters were sent to election offices in at least 5 states, some containing fentanyl. Fox's Dan Springer in Washington State.
These election workers here in King County were among the first in the country on Wednesday to open one of these suspicious letters, and it did test positive for trace amounts of fentanyl, just like a similar letter did back in August during the primary. So workers knew what to do. The office was evacuated. Hazmat teams were brought in. A field test confirmed the presence of fentanyl. After a 3-hour disruption, workers were brought back in and counting resumed.
Letters with white powder were also sent to election workers in Georgia, Nevada, California, and Oregon, all sent through U.S. mail, some intercepted before reaching election offices. The FBI is investigating. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen wrapping up talks with China's vice premier.
The relationship between the United States and the People's Republic of China is one of the most important relationships of our time.
Her department describing the meetings as candid. President Biden is now set to meet next week with China's president in California, their second in-person meeting. Local residents aren't happy about an electric vehicle battery plant planned in Michigan, but with ties to China.
Despite the opposition, the company, called Gotion, by the way, says it's going to move ahead with its plans to build that $2.4 billion EV battery factory that they say will create more than 2,000 jobs in Michigan's rural Green Charter Township, an area that could use a boost to the economy. The company's parent business is based in China, and that has led to a very heated debate that ended in a recall or resignation of the entire board of supervisors in that town, who actually voted to give Gotion multiple tax breaks.
Fox Business's Ashley Webster recapping the strong finish on Wall Street. Dow up 391, the S&P also gaining more than 1%, the NASDAQ up more than 2%. And Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Hello again, everyone. Let's check weather for Central Illinois, Champaign-Urbana vicinity. A very quiet, uneventful period of weather continuing on here across the area right through late next weekend and the following weekend, and we'll start another significant warming trend for the middle late parts of next week and probably up into and through the Thanksgiving holiday as well. No real wintry type cold or precipitation in sight around here. Next significant weather system may be primarily rain towards the Thanksgiving holiday itself. Mostly sunny for the day today, turning a bit cooler this afternoon. Highs to about 55 with a northwest wind. Clear tonight, bit colder by the dawn. Light north wind will bottom out at 28 for the day tomorrow. Sunny skies, a bit of a northeast wind on the light side, and a high temperature for the Indiana game at around 52. Tomorrow night down around 31, mostly sunny, 56. The outlook on Sunday's winds come around southerly late in the day, up to 57 on Monday, near 60 on Tuesday, about 61 on Wednesday, with low to mid 60s next Thursday and Friday. Next chance for a couple of showers for late next week as well. For TVJ Broadcasting, I'm meteorologist Greg Solier.
Our mics are on. Hey, our mics are on. Hi, Kyle. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. That's what we say. Good morning. It is The Drive with Tay and Piper. We are live at Pia's. Is this our last show at Pia's? We got one more.
For now, it's the last one.
For now, yeah. Just for this season, for this football season.
Last one currently on the books.
On the books. All right. But listen, they go to a bowl game. We could probably figure out a way with the boys here to get a show here. One more time.
I'm sure, yeah.
So the
maybe inside in December.
Right. We are outside, by the way. There's a group of people, a bunch of people inside at Pia's. We have two
Softies.
people out here. Benny's out here as well. And yeah, Softies.
There's some tough people left in this world, so we appreciate those.
And Diane is here. So she helps set everything up, which we always appreciate. We're going to be giving away some tickets today for Illinois football. Do we have some for Illinois basketball? Yes, we do. So we'll be – okay, that's right, the Pia's fan bus tonight. So the reason we're a little flustered is you looked at me right before we started the show, Derek, and you're like, whoa. Some news from the Big Ten and Tony is it Petitti?
Petitti, yeah.
Petitti. So what exactly is the news from him?
I got to give him some credit because I wonder if he was going to have a lot of teeth in this disciplinary action as far as Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, and it just came down into the front page of ESPN. As I was checking that app, it says Big Ten to ban Michigan's Jim Harbaugh from the field. So here's the details on that. According to ESPN's Pete Thamel, Harbaugh will not be allowed to coach during games throughout the remainder of the regular season. That, of course, means this weekend against Penn State, the regular season finale against Ohio State, the two biggest games on Michigan's schedule throughout the season. They really haven't been tested yet to this point. Good point. He is allowed to coach in practice during the week, but he will not be allowed to be involved during games and on the sideline for the Wolverines throughout the remainder of this regular season. We'll see what Michigan's action is going to be in response to this. I don't know. I'll have to read through the further details as far as whether there's an appeal process, whether they can say, hey, we're going to appeal this
for 2 weeks
and get Jim on the sideline this weekend there in Happy Valley. But I think that obviously this is going to satisfy some people for the moment as they dig into more details and whatnot. There's just too much evidence out there right now that's become very, very public on social media and whatnot of this happening and Michigan's just blatant involvement in cheating. So I think that this is a good start, and we'll see where it goes from here.
I was even impressed with Brett Bielema and the way he came out pretty strong about this and essentially said, hey, when it's all said and done, I've got a lot more to say, but oh, by the way, and he kind of spoke on that topic, and he basically at the end said that it's ridiculous and disgusting should this be occurring, and obviously we know it was occurring even here in Champaign. It sounds like that they were trying to purchase tickets for Illinois games or did to come and scout an opponent, whether it be Illinois or one of their opponents that the Illini were playing. Normally, Derek, when suspensions and this kind of punishment comes out, normally you're always upset, right? It seems like it's never enough.
Right.
I kind of like what you said there. I feel like, a lot of people will say, well, everybody does this. Everybody's doing it. Well, there is a law. There is not maybe a law. There's a rule in place that says you cannot physically go scout someone at another place. So in that situation, he broke the rule. Michigan has broken this rule. Of course, Jim didn't know anything about it. But I'm actually pretty impressed that the Big Ten and the commissioner, which really this is his first major, I believe, discussion and decision that he's had to make, I'm pretty impressed with the idea that he's going to come out and suspend. Like you said, I don't know yet in terms of the appeal process, but when I normally hear things about suspensions, it's underwhelming. This one I feel like kind of hit it on the nose.
Yeah, and reading through the rest of this, it does say that this will not halt or conclude the NCAA investigation, that will continue on in terms of Connor Stalions and his involvement with Michigan. And obviously, I mean, he's been reported to have bought tickets to over 40 games, I believe, both in the Big Ten and potential college football playoff opponents that they were going to likely or potentially line up with. So this will continue on. If they find more, then the NCAA can come down with their own punishment, both for the program, both for Jim Harbaugh himself. So we'll see where that goes from here. I just think in the immediate sense, there would be a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths if Michigan was able to just cruise through the rest of this season with a lot on the table for them. But regardless, just go to the finish line without any type of punishment until the offseason, until the season plays out. Because obviously it's having some kind of effect on their outputs on the football field. I'm not saying, and you especially look at their schedule. Would they have lost to Purdue? Would they have lost to some of these other teams, Nebraska, on their schedule? Like, their schedule has been Cupcake City so far.
No doubt.
And it's a really good Michigan team. It's just the fact of them breaking the rules pretty blatantly, and just kind of a strong point for a new Big Ten commissioner. And I know Illinois fans are as familiar with it as anybody in terms of Kevin Warren feeling like they gave Michigan a pass with the Big Ten title in basketball.
This started with him as the commissioner, so Michigan just assumed we can do anything we want.
We can, yeah. But, I think that this, in the meantime, is a nice penalty that comes with some teeth in it. So I like that out of Tony Petitti, and we'll see what progresses on forward.
It will be interesting, too, because Michigan is having a really good season, as you noted, but they really haven't played much in terms of their schedule, but that is coming up. As you mentioned, Penn State, they've still got, of course, the annual game with Ohio State. So we'll see what happens. And if you look back as to when this began, when they believe this began, the record is a lot better. Now, whether or not that's a coincidence, Derek, I don't know, but the record is a lot better. So obviously, kudos to the Big Ten, and we'll see what the NCAA does in terms of looking into this.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that Michigan obviously was trying to throw a lot of deflection out there here in recent weeks, especially the last two. When you see it was through reporters who were then, of course, stumbling into unnamed sources that had certain things to say. Like, there was a report from On3.com, the Wolverine, I believe, is the actual Michigan website, that said, hey, sources are telling us that Ryan Day's brother, who's a private investigator, has been very much involved in this, and maybe even alleging, no, not even maybe, they were alleging that he unlawfully hacked Connor Stalions' laptop and got a spreadsheet on, all the places that he bought tickets to games and whatnot. And then obviously within the last week it comes out that, actually Ohio State, Purdue, Rutgers had all stolen Michigan signs and were passing it amongst each other. So there was a lot of attempts here for Michigan to try to say, hey, this is happening elsewhere. Hey, just kind of take a further look into this to try to identify what kind of competitive advantage really was had. But I credit Tony Petitti for having the narrow focus and blocking out some of the noise to just say, hey, we know enough that you guys did wrong, and in the meantime, we're going to hand over a punishment.
I also credit TCU for knowing about this in the bowl game or in the playoffs and going completely the other way to score 50-some points on Michigan and beat the Wolverines to advance to the title game. So obviously some teeth there if TCU knew what was going on and they were able to dodge the bullet and, in fact, use it against Michigan in that sense. Hey, we got karaoke tonight, by the way, from 9 to 1 right here at Pia's. We are at Pia's, Springfield Avenue. Now, it's $4 Fireball shots all day. Now, it's cool enough that a Fireball shot probably sounds good today.
Could warm you up, yeah.
Now, we'll be doing a lot of those tomorrow, but certainly kind of the, you got to kind of lead into it a little bit. So we may have to get one of those down today. Fireball shots, $4.
What's up with Brad Underwood and company scheduling basketball games the night after a live show at Pia's? It's just killing my ability to partake in this stuff, and they should have that front of mind when they go into a schedule.
Let me go one step further. Jay Lehman is not here today because he's speaking at a school engagement tonight that I have to be at 6 o'clock that is furthering and hampering you and I having fun, because while we enjoy doing the show every day, well, I do it like 4 days a week now, but I enjoy doing the show, and especially when we come to Pia's, the after party is kind of what it's all about when we come here. And then now you got Brad Underwood doing his thing. Andrew's got some event going on tonight that I got to go watch. I'm like, are you giving a speech? He's like, heck no, I'm not giving a speech. Jay Lehman, though, will be giving the speech. Hey, they also have $5 bullet bourbons all day here at Pia's, so plenty of other specials that we'll tell you about, but certainly Fireball shots, $4, bullet bourbon for $5. You got Coors Light Drafts for $3.50. You can get bucket of Coors Light for $16.75. Twisted Teas are $3.75, and also Captain Morgan drinks for $4. All right, we've discussed the Michigan situation. If we learn more about that, and I know you'll be searching that as we're here on the show. I'm sure Kyle back at the studio, if there's any sound that drops or anything, we may be able to get something on about that. But certainly there is a game tomorrow for Illinois. And at one point this season, Derek, I wasn't sure if our Veterans Day show here at Pia's, Veterans Day weekend show here at Pia's, was going to be one of which we talked a lot of football. I didn't know if we'd be staring ahead to the basketball season, which, of course, we will talk plenty about as Illinois welcomes Oakland to town. And then, of course, next week, a big showdown with number 5 Marquette, if they're still ranked 5th. I'm not sure. So that'll be something to engage and talk about as we go. But thanks to a win at Minnesota, we've got plenty to talk about now about this Illinois football team. 4-4. We don't know about Luke Altmaier. How much does that worry you? Obviously, with John Paddock coming in and doing what he did, which was unbelievable. I mean, he turned into an Illini legend. That day will forever be remembered by Illinois football fans. But with the possibility that Paddock will have to lead the show and not Luke Altmaier, how much does that worry you if that does indeed end up being the case?
Well, for 4-5, chance to get to 500 with this win, 5-5, and of course you win out, you're 7-5, and we'll see what that means in terms of the Big Ten West and
see,
whatnot.
I don't count all the losses.
Which one are you?
I don't know.
I just absolving. You just forgetting the Nebraska game ever happened.
Yeah,
that's a good one to just pretend like it never occurred for sure. But
did they even play this year?
Yeah, I don't know. But I was there for a half, right? And then my son was like, "Yeah, it's time to go."
Well, he's smart.
He's smart. He's 1.5.
Yeah,
but, yep. Let's look at the quarterback situation. I currently, just kind of the vibe I'm getting, it feels like it's most likely going to be John Paddock.
I agree.
I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but when you talk to Luke Altmaier like we did on Monday and him talking about, getting his bell rung and just kind of going into the tent after that hit, and you see the replay, it seems like he's been in concussion protocol. I know Brett Bielema hasn't come out and said that, but for him to say yesterday, hey, he hasn't been cleared to practice, that gives me an indication that, while it's not final yet, but they're probably preparing for John Paddock to be your starting quarterback. Of course, he was tremendous in that final drive. 3 fantastic throws, especially, the 4th and 11 to Isaiah.
Yes.
The deep post was right on the money over the top of the defense was fantastic. And we'll see. I mean, it's a small sample size, but it saved your season. And he wasn't the only reason you won that game, but it was such a huge point of really a fork in the road where Illinois loses that game, they're 3-6, and this thing's really over, I think, in terms of a bowl game and how we feel about this season, versus you win that game and all of a sudden a lot of these the rest of the way matter greatly. So I think in terms of John Paddock having that confidence coming off of last week is really, really important. He's been taking the starter reps in practice this week, which is obviously key for him to be in the best position to be successful. Right. I like that even though his season at Ball State last year, he threw quite a few picks and the numbers on paper weren't fantastic. I just like that, Kyle and I talked about this yesterday, that I like that he's been in a situation where he's been a starter. He knows what a week of preparation is like when you're gearing up and you're watching film. And if this was Donovan Leary, who I know that Brett Bielema is probably still encouraged about long term, if it was a different situation, you're putting a young quarterback who hasn't been a starter before in this type of position, I'd I'd be more worried. So
okay, that's fair.
I do want to give Luke Altmaier his due and say, hey, I think that he's been progressing nicely. I think his consistency is getting better. He's had moments where he still will make a bad throw or have some stretches where the offense goes stagnant and whatnot. But I feel all right, especially you look at Indiana, to the 13th ranked scoring defense in the Big Ten. They've been very, very gettable. So I think Illinois can be productive offensively, even if Luke Altmaier is out.
Can we call Brett out on something? I mean, he was like throwing out Cam Swanson. Did you see that?
I did not see that. No.
Yeah, he's like, well, we might even throw him in there. We don't know yet because we have different styles of quarterbacks. I'm like, what? Kyle, am I wrong? Did he not say that? Did I not read that somewhere? And I was like, what is Brett? What's he talking about throwing in Swanson? I guess he could play. They can still redshirt him. Do they still have that deal? I guess you can play one game, right? Yeah, you're not going to see him tomorrow unless Illinois is up big, maybe, and I doubt you even see him then. What does it change, Pipes, you think, about this Illinois offense? Obviously, again, coming in cold, Paddock was able to run the offense and take them right down the field. Now all of a sudden you're not walking on hot coals tomorrow when the game starts, where you've got to come in and be perfect, essentially, which Paddock was against Minnesota. But how much does it change, you think, the game plan? I mean, I think the game plan for Brett Bielema's squads is always to run the football.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, Indiana gives up a lot of yardage. I think the only team they haven't yielded like 200 and some yards against was an FCS team. So in that situation, I don't see that the offense would change a whole lot, because I think you're still going to gear it towards getting the ball in Caden Fagan's hand. It sounds like Reggie Love is going to be able to play a little bit as well. I think that's still the game plan, right, regardless of the quarterback.
Yeah, I think as far as what you're going to hang your hat on, that hasn't changed. In terms of the running game, and you look at Indiana, the fact that I mentioned their scoring defense standing, and they've given up the most yards per game on the ground in the Big Ten, is over 160 per game. Although they've been better up front and stopping the run of late, that's been key for them in terms of playing better football. You look at the Penn State game, and we know Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton are two of the better backs in the Big Ten.
No doubt.
And when Indiana is in the game, actually tied with 3.5 to go in Happy Valley, a big reason is because those guys didn't run wild. They combined for about 130 or so yards, about 3.5 yards a carry. That's pretty average for a pretty talented Penn State backfield. So you couple that in comparison with also they're playing Wisconsin last week. They, of course, win that game. There was no Braylon Allen, so that is definitely something to take into account. But Wisconsin was not able to just kind of pound them up front, which I think that they would have liked to have done, and thought that they could take care of business as far as Indiana goes in that direction. So the biggest thing for me, I think, is that John Paddock is obviously not going to have the same type of running threat with his legs as Luke Altmaier would, because I think that he's not as athletic. Luke has shown that he can really take off and get if it's 3rd and 8 and the pocket breaks down, he can get out and run for a first down. He's had some bigger chunks than obviously 8 yards this year as well. You probably don't expect that out of John Paddock a lot. I think, though, game plan-wise, I think it's the way that I'm looking at it is I hope that Illinois doesn't change a whole lot, because I think there's probably a tendency where you have a backup quarterback to try to really come with a conservative game plan. Try not to lose the game. Don't put John Paddock in positions where you're asking him to do a lot. And I think that can make Illinois predictable. That could really slow down this offense, and that could leave Indiana in a situation where they can be in the game. I think you got to let him throw the ball a decent amount and not get scared. Kind of try to play off of the confidence
I agree.
of what John Paddock did late against Minnesota. If you come in and say, hey, we're going to give Caden Fagan 30 carries no matter what it looks like, even if Indiana's stacking the box and whatnot, then I think you're sputtering potentially, and that's putting you in a tough situation. So I kind of hope that they still have in their mind, like, okay, this quarterback made some plays for us last week, a reason why we're in this position. Let's let him do some things. Yes, we want to run the ball like always, but let's not scale it back so much just because it's a backup quarterback.
I think it's probably funny that John Paddock's probably sitting here, like, reading this, hearing this, and he's saying, you guys know I've made quite a few starts in college, right? Just calm down. It's going to be okay. I'm going to go and do maybe not. I mean, he was Superman against Minnesota, but, obviously this guy started every game for Ball State last year. He has a lot of experience with regards to that. He's not going to get under center and be, in awe of a defense for Indiana. He's not going to get in the huddle and show any kind of fear. I mean, he's if nothing else, he looks like he's about as cocky as you can be. And I kind of like that, right? You kind of like the idea that he's going to go out there with a little bit of a chip on the shoulder if he is the starter and say, watch me go, boys. I'm going to lead this team to a victory today, and it's going to be just fine.
At what day in the week did Brett Bielema or Barry Lunny have to go to John and be like, all right, I know you've just been taking in all the glory walking around campus, the different looks you were getting, let's be honest, for maybe the female portion of the student body that maybe you weren't getting before, and everybody wants to buy you a drink and come to CAMS, you'll never pay for or come to PIAs, I should say, never pay for another drink in your life. But at what time during the week you're like, all right, let's let that one subside, and there's a real chance you got to start, so let's dial it back in.
He's a pretty good looking dude. I don't know that he has any issues anyway.
You're
but
probably right.
You're right. I mean, I'm guessing that it is a certain point where they say, all right, now we got to start thinking ahead. And obviously we joke. He's a veteran. He's experienced. I'm sure he knew right after that game there was a really good chance that he may be under center against Indiana here in this game tomorrow. 11 a.m. kick. By the way, it's supposed to be a pretty nice day, kind of like today. I mean, I went outside today between 11 and 12, and it was beautiful out. So if that's what we're getting tomorrow, I'm okay with that. The Big Ten Network will be there. They're doing their big tailgate in the morning, their tailgate show. So for everyone that's out there bright and early, I'll be there. Are you going to be there early?
No, I will not.
Okay, you don't want to be on the Big Ten Network?
I do, but I'll probably leave State Farm Center close to 11:30 or whatnot.
Just stay.
At midnight. Yeah,
that's what you ought to do. Is just stay,
just go knock on somebody's camper and see if I can catch a few
Piper.
hours of sleep.
Dude, they'd love it
if you got some Wi-Fi in there, so I can write my story, whatever it might be.
I think that would be a great giveaway. Like have Piper spend an evening with you, and you can kind of see the behind the scenes of how he covers an Illinois basketball game after it's done.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a great. I bet there's people right now lining up to say, "Oh, we'll take Piper in our camper."
Yeah, Kyle can hit us with some of anybody that texts in 217-359-2255. U of I Line of League text line. I'll walk out 6 a.m. in somebody else's robe after spending the night at camper, and I'll be like, "What's up, Lon? You want a fireball?"
Hey, Pipes is here. He's here early. I'll get there and you'll have everything set up. I'll be like, "This is a change," but it's nice. All right, listen. When we come back, Jay Lehman could not join us today, but of course he joins us on the best hour of radio, of course, every Monday from 3 to 4. Jay had some things to say about these Hoosiers, so we'll hear from Jay Lehman and what he had to say earlier this week. We'll also talk a little bit about Indiana. They're on their second quarterback. He's a freshman out of Texas, but he's looked pretty good the last couple of days, so we will find out more about Brendan Sorsby as well. Also, Illinois basketball tonight against Oakland. We'll talk plenty of that. We'll have Pipes kind of talk a little bit about what we can expect. This is an Oakland team, not trying to scare you, not trying to get you fired up, but it's an Oakland team that took Ohio State. I mean, they gave him everything they could. Yeah. So
they led for a lot of that second half.
Okay.
And Ohio State had to battle back. I'm not trying, like you said, no one should be maybe like fearful of Oakland,
right.
But I hope there's a tinge of or even more than that for this team to wake up in the early going. I don't think they had any type of fear or thought that Eastern Illinois was going to beat them for any moment in that game. Oakland is good enough that if Illinois sleepwalks through the first 10 to 12 minutes again tonight like they did on Monday, they could be in for a really tough battle.
I'm going to bring over Chad Pitcher, one of the owners of PIAs, of course. He was always gracious to have us out here. Chad, we always appreciate you doing it, my friend. Thanks again.
Well, we welcome all of you. This has been great all year long.
It's been great crowds all year long, and I think it'll fill up a little bit more outside, but everybody's inside right now. So do we have any coats we can give them and get them out here or what?
Well, we got sweatshirts for sale. That's the whole point of it. But yeah, this has been a great crowd all year long, and, great for the success of Illinois going right now as well. So.
Absolutely. That's the key there. I mean, this Illinois football team kind of helped us out with that win at Minnesota to get us a little more excited going forward, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. I think, how everybody goes. It's how they win, that's how we party, right?
Absolutely. Hey, last one for you, Chad. Explain the PIAs bus that you do this all the time where people can come here to PIAs, maybe have a couple before the game, and then you haul them over to State Farm Center and then bring them right back. That's a great thing that you guys do each year on that. So how does that work out? That's got to work out perfect all the time.
Oh, it's great. Like you come to come to Pia's 2-3 hours before the game. The bus always leaves 35 minutes before the game, but you can take a drink on the bus, eat and drink before the game, have some fun, or something. If you get a little drunk, you can stay. You don't either way, but it's a great venue. It's a great deal. They pick you up here, drop you off over there, and they bring you back. So it's been a great deal for years.
Well, and not having to deal with having to park and, not only that, but getting away from a game afterwards with all the traffic can be a little bit of a pain as well. But, Chad, thanks, as always, my friend, for Pia's. Thanks to Pia's for being a great partner with our show, and we just appreciate it, my friend.
Well, we appreciate all of you as well, and Diane Ducey as well, and Twisted Tea, and boys down there it's Kerner Distributing now, but you know what I mean. But we appreciate both of you.
Good stuff, Chad. Thank you, sir. Great stuff. You, always appreciate that, having Chad Pitcher out here to visit with. Old Kerner, they used to have the old, down in T-Town, they had the fast pitch team that probably beat us about maybe 29 out of 30 times. But always a fun, always a fun group, though, to go have a beer with after the game. So that, anytime the T-Town boys came, you knew they were going to beat you, and then you knew they were going to be fun to visit and drink with after the game. So we always welcomed in the T-Town squads. Our pitchers didn't like it, but we did. It's like, what the heck? Let's score some runs. My headphones are giving me fits now, so I'm just going to take them off. How about that? Let's have you send it to break. Again, We'll hear from what Jay Lehman had to say earlier this week about the Indiana Hoosiers, learn a little bit more about them. And then the second hour, we got a little Brad Underwood we could play, and also get your take on Greg Campy and his Oakland squad.
A lot to do. Come join us at Pia's, West Springfield Avenue. Got specials, $3.50 Coors Light drafts, $16.75 Coors Light buckets, $3.75 Twisted Tea cans, $5 Bullet Rye and Bourbon, and $4 Captain Morgan drinks. A lot of fun out here at Pia's. We'll be talking more Illinois, Indiana, as well as Illini versus Oakland tonight.
I'm calling an audible on you because Chad thought of one other thing he wants to bring up here.
Let's go.
Chad Pitcher, what else we got coming up at Pia's?
Well, we got turkey bowling. This is, I've been doing it for 25 years now, and even prior, before when I was here in the 90s. But we have turkey bowling the 21st.
Sweet.
It's sponsored by Kerner Distributing, Miller Lite, Coors Light as well. Come out, roll the Fullerton turkey. Starts at 7 o'clock. Actually, sign up to 7. We roll the turkey at 7:45. But on the 21st of November, rain or shine, we have heated tents. Bring yourselves out, your families, except leave the kids at home, and come on out and roll some frozen turkeys with us.
That's awesome. Thank you, sir. That is always fun. I know back in the day, Sullivan had a bar down there when we lived there that did that, the Toy Bar. That's right. And it's one of those where I had never heard of this, and the first time I went up there, I was like, you got to be kidding me. It was a blast.
50 to 75 bowlers.
Is that right? 50 to 75 bowlers out here. Okay. So great prizes and everything. That's the 21st. Make sure you're at Pia's the 21st, and as he mentioned, heated tents. That'll be nice. That's like, it's the 11th.
Yeah.
No, is today the 10th? Today's the
10th, yep.
So that's like 11 days away. Tomorrow, of course, the 11th is Veterans Day. That's why Illinois is doing the Military Day. Also Dad's Day, so a bunch of dads in town for this one.
Right.
So that'll be a fun day out at the tailgates and be a fun day inside Memorial Stadium.
Shall be. It's a fun day out here at Pia's. Come join us. Check us out. We got a lot more to do. Kyle, let's send us to break. It is The Drive.
Jeremiah 29:11 states, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." What a comfort we have in this passage, as the Lord is telling Jeremiah, I care for you and will take care of you. If you are in despair and think you have no hope, pray to the Lord for guidance. See how your life can be changed and the lives of those around you. This message brought to you by the Blossom Basket Florist.
Since Busey Bank first opened our doors in 1868, we have built upon a tradition of close relationships and broad financial capabilities. Our experienced team provides the highest level of personalized service to ensure we accomplish your goals, simplifying your wealth management and business lending needs and ensuring a legacy for generations. Building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
Habitat for Humanity of Champaign County has been bringing people together to build homes, communities, and hope since 1991. To date, Habitat of Champaign has built 118 homes, but the need for safe, decent, and affordable housing is greater than ever. When you donate your time or money to Habitat or make a purchase from the Habitat Restore, you are empowering local families and helping them achieve the strength, stability, and self-reliance they need to build a bright future for themselves. For more information about Habitat for Humanity of Champaign, please visit cuhabitat.org.
By now, you've all heard the expression, when you turn the key and the car won't run, call 367-9481 for PDR Automotive. They are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR. But who are they? They, the PDR staff, understand that a name is only as good as the people that represent it. The PDR staff has more than 335 years of combined automotive experience, several employees now on staff for more than 25 years. PDR, more than just a name. Family owned and operated, now celebrating over 50 years in business.
There's an inviting holiday chill waiting for you at your local Merle Norman. The Holiday 2023 Color Collection is available now, featuring a gift-worthy Opal Eyes palette filled with 9 limited editions soft touch shadows. Pair your palette with 3 shades of crisp candy cane scented tinted lip balm, including a neutral cashmere cream, a dimensional plum shimmer, and a red sangria cream. Shop Holiday limited editions while supplies last. Merle Norman, 706 West Market View Drive.
Are you looking for something this holiday season for your customers that can say thank you from you, but at the same time showcase your business and their support? The hunt is over. We offer custom wrapped coolers and lasered mugs, tumblers, water bottles in all shapes, sizes, and colors. Call us at Aftershock, 833-DECAL-IT, or look us up online, aftershockdd.com. That's aftershockdd.com.
You've changed thousands of diapers, played hours of peekaboo and duck, duck, goose because you do anything for your kids. That's why it's so important to protect them with life insurance from State Farm. State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow will help make it easy and affordable to help you protect your family no matter what the future holds. Because for the people you do anything for, life insurance could mean everything. Call State Farm agent Kurt Lenschow in Champaign-Urbana today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
So Andrew won tickets. What's the chances, Pipes, that I get to go to that game? I'm gonna guess not.
Pretty low.
How many did he win, Diane? Like 2. Yeah, I'm not going. There's no way I'm going to that. I tell you anymore though. That's from up there, up top. I don't even know if I could see anymore. I just
get some Connor Stallions binoculars.
Right. Is that going to be his next job? Is he going to come out with the Connor Stallion binoculars and like sell those nationwide? I think it'd be great. You just did it. You ought to just start that right now. You ought to just get a hold of him. I mean, heck, he was probably sitting by us in the horseshoe. We didn't even know it.
Maybe.
All right, we are live at Pia's. It is The Drive with Tay and Piper, and we are making our 4th appearance here at Pia's. We did the kickoff event, of course, had the 83 Rose Bowl reunion. That was September 1st. We had the Bullet Woody tailgate, the old Bullet Bourbon, on Friday, September 22nd. Then, of course, the homecoming event with the former players on Friday, October 20th. And now today, getting you ready for Dad's Day tomorrow, military, and, of course, basketball game tonight. A lot of stuff going on. Why is it that Illinois seems to win more on the road than they do at home? I mean, Brett Bielema's teams, I went through that list the other day. It's been a couple of weeks ago, but every year they seem to pull off a big victory on the road, and I'm talking a big one. And while Minnesota, you know, they've done that twice now, 2 in 3 years they've gone up to Minneapolis and won a game. But when you look at the home schedule in the Big Ten, the home record for Brett Bielema, it's like 4-8. And then on the road, they've got like a winning record. I don't understand that. Why would that happen? Does anybody have an idea for that?
I don't know. I think you could try to like galaxy your brain your way into some explanation of like the coach speak way of it would be like, oh, it's when you're on the road, it's us against the world, and there's extra motivation and whatnot. And I don't think there is probably a reasonable way to say that this is a real difference of what's happening. So it's really tough to win on the road. I give them credit for pulling out those victories at Minnesota a few years ago at Penn State. So that ability to go on the road and get some victories is obviously a huge benefit. But there's no doubt that a game at home against Nebraska, a game at home a few years ago against Rutgers, it was right after, I think. Was it right after you won at Penn State? You turned around and lost at home to Rutgers?
So.
Like, those are the ones that really sting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
That's fair, because it's not an easy question. It's not a fair question, to be honest with you, and I don't even know if Brett Bielema would have a really good answer for that, although he's really good at it.
Yeah, and I think some people would try to sit there and say maybe Illinois' home record is better if their environment was more imposing, if it was really a place that intimidated people. But to get there, you have to have consistent winning football, which this program has not had since the 1980s, essentially. So I wouldn't sit here and blame fans. I mean, those that show up every Saturday obviously deserve to be rewarded with a good product, and thankfully they're starting to play better football. They have been the last 3 weeks, and I would let me turn this back on you and say that the Indiana game, how much does it, I don't want to say scare you, but how much are you sitting there respecting Indiana and saying, hey, they could pull this thing off? You would hope that on paper, even without Luke Altmaier, if that's going to be the situation, that Illinois could win this game and just worry about going to Iowa afterwards. But Indiana's been playing better football, and I can't sit here and say, hey, it's definitely a game that Illinois will win.
I appreciate the fact that both teams are playing better football, and you just mentioned that. Certainly Indiana had Penn State. I mean, in the fourth quarter, they were right there with them. And then, of course, we need to thank Indiana for the win over Wisconsin, because we got to become big Rutgers fans tomorrow at Iowa. And somehow there's a way Illinois could creep back in and somehow tie for the Big Ten West. And you never know, I guess, in that situation. So, yeah, I'm a little worried about Indiana. There's no doubt, especially without Altmaier. And I hope John Paddock, I hope tomorrow when I get back out to the tailgate lots after that game, I'm like, well, maybe we have a quarterback controversy here, because John Paddock played really well today. I don't think that'll be the case. Luke Altmaier has had a fantastic season in his first year with Illinois. But I think the thing that comforts me a little bit, and we are weird as fans how we do this, is the idea of that game that occurred last year in Bloomington. First of all, Indiana's beaten you 4 straight times. Now, they hadn't played in like 5 years, but they've beaten you 4 straight times. Now, that's got to end. We got to get that done. But I think there's a chip on the shoulder of a lot of these Illinois football players from last year. Now, luckily, that didn't spoil the fun. I mean, they still win 8 games. They still go to a great bowl game down in Tampa. But it's always that what if, right? The entire season we kept saying, what if? Did that ruin and did that spoil the Big Ten West Championship? Did that spoil you a chance to go play in Indianapolis? Obviously, you had all that in front of you, and you created those own issues. But I think because of that loss to Indiana last year, I'm comforted a little bit as a fan in knowing that this team's not going to overlook Indiana, and I think they've got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder to get some revenge.
I would hope so. I do want to say that for as jarring as it is to sit here, I'm in my North Face, and we're in the shade, it's breezy, it's chilly, and to see you in shorts is very jarring. It's even more jarring, the fact of that you've lost, 4 or 5 straight to Indiana? What'd you say?
Yeah, 4. I think I read 4 today.
4 straight to Indiana. That might be even more jarring than that. So, man, that just doesn't seem right. So, yeah, I do think that there is, for those that played on last year's team, of course you can't include a guy like John Paddock, if Luke Altmaier were to be available, Caden Fagan in that.
Exactly.
So there are new faces on this team that weren't.
I bet Isaiah wants them.
I would say Isaiah would be involved in that for sure. Keith Randolph, Johnny Newton.
Yes.
And how great it's going to be to finally get to see a full game of both of those guys. It feels like it's been a long time since that's happened as well. So, yeah, you compare it and partner it with the fact that you lost there last year, so it should be motivation. And then Indiana should have your attention because you know how good Penn State is, and the fact that they had the Nittany Lions eye to eye there late in the fourth quarter at Happy Valley, and then they did something that you couldn't do, which was beat Wisconsin at home in the absence of Tanner Mordecai. So those are things that you look at this Indiana team and say, yeah, usually it's not a game that you are going to get maybe super excited about in terms of the pecking order on your schedule, but I do think that this is one you at least respect what they're the football that they're playing, similar
Yes.
to I would imagine the Hoosiers are thinking the same thing.
I just had like a Lute Olson moment, like, and a Bob Knight moment back in the day when, like, probably the same thought they had when these two guys walked into a gym. The Johnson brothers are here. Brian and Lucas are down. I had invited them to come to Pia's. They weren't sure if they could get here, but obviously they're skipping work. So they're down here and well equipped. I see that. They're ready to go today, which is awesome. So we've got to visit with them here in a second for sure so they can get on with their day. The one thing I do want to do before we get these guys on real quick is to hear from Jay Lehman, who we had talked with obviously Monday regarding this Indiana team. Here's what Jay had to say about the Hoosiers.
Indiana beat us last year when we were a vastly better team. They fired Walt Bell, who, God bless Walt Bell. I've covered Walt Bell at Maryland, at UMass. It was the coordinator then at Indiana. Got fired during the bye week, October 5th. Rod Carey takes over. Rod Carey's giving them an offensive identity a little bit. Guys, they got some Donovan McCulley's a good receiver. They got Jalen Lucas, who's kind of like an Isaiah Williams guy.
They always have good receivers.
Brendan Sorsby's got the quarterback job. Guys, they had a pass play for 90 yards, 60 yards, and 30 yards against a Penn State defense that up in that time they gave up one play over 40 yards.
Wow.
They were in a one-score game with Penn State in Happy Valley, okay? So they're vastly improved. I would say this. We have a big advantage in the trenches if we're healthy and Johnny's playing, and we can run the football much better than him. Usually if you can run the ball better and stop the run better, you're going to win the game. But that doesn't guarantee we're going to win.
Right.
We got to take care of business. Haven't won 2 games in a row all year. So we can lose this game.
Yeah.
I mean, we can lose any game. We can win any game, and we can lose any game. I thought the way we played the last 3 weeks is how the whole season would be. Even against Kansas,
They have played
even
well.
against Penn State, I thought you could go either way. That's why I said this team could win 5 games, which it looks like they're at least going to do that, we hope. Or they could have won 10 games. Now, they played like trash the first six weeks. They weren't a good football team. That Nebraska game was the worst Illinois football I've seen in a very long time, but they learned from it. They didn't stay on the mat. I said if they play like they play against Nebraska, they ain't going to beat anybody. That's the truth, but they've gotten better. They got a quarterback they can build around. In college football, if you got a quarterback, you got a chance.
Amen is what I said to that. Jay Lehman just going off there on Indiana, which is great. And we will hear more and talk more about Illinois and Indiana, of course, coming up tomorrow, 11 a.m. That is what brings the Johnson boys down. Let's start with Brian real quick because he's the reason you guys are down here. Obviously, Brian, your daughter is a sophomore now at the University of Illinois. Is that right?
Kylie's a sophomore. It makes me feel old. I don't talk about it on the air very often, but yeah, she is.
Well, you guys look great. Obviously, fitness is a big thing for the Johnsons. You guys are both skinny as can be and look like you could still play, my man.
Well, we've got daughters, and they will have boyfriends, and so we got to stay in shape for a little while.
That's why I'm fat, because I had 2 boys. Now I'm starting to understand this.
Lon, stop. With your stunning good looks, we always thought you'd end up on television.
Oh.
Radio, though, is a perfect spot for Lucas's radio face.
Well, no arguments here on that one. We're having fun. I want to keep having fun, so I want to get this out of the way first. I want to ask you both about the passing of Bob Knight. Obviously, you guys, I still remember, Brian, that game when you guys went over there and basically clinched the Big Ten. Yeah. And it was an amazing game. And, of course, Knight had 3 somehow technicals. And I know I read this the other day in an article. I'm like, wait, he had 3. I don't think you can get 3. But you were there. Lon Kruger tried to keep you guys like, hey, let's focus on the game.
Yeah.
What was it like to go against Bob Knight? And then, obviously I had some not so great things to say about him, obviously, through the years. So what was it like for you guys to play against Bob?
Yeah, what was interesting about Bob Knight is he was the coach who would show up in our team's huddle before the game to passive-aggressively wish us luck.
Oh, nice.
To intimidate us. And he'd get real close to you and kind of look down at you. He's a big guy, barrel chest, But he had that kind of old school way about him, And that game in particular over in Bloomington, I remember that, Knight had some run-ins with the referees, eventually got tossed out of the game. Coach Kruger pulled our whole team over towards the bench, kind of, no, don't worry about that. But at that time, I was checking into the game.
Oh.
So I was at the scores table taking it all in. And so if you see pictures of this whole thing happening, I'm there like, what? And the rest of our squad's like in the huddle, you know? And so I remember that vividly. And, he had that same intimidation factor with referees or whatever. But what's interesting about Coach Knight is if you knew his players, and if you talked to them, they loved playing for him, And
Crazy.
so you have to at some point give some credibility to that as well. You know, those guys talked really highly of him. They chose to play for him. They played hard for him. They won for him. And they were there because they wanted to be there, you know. And I know that that's not true of everyone, but on the balance, people love playing for him, and I respected him for that, and those players for sharing that, you know. And so I always held him as one of those old school, but you know, guys who had charisma and had a presence that people wanted to play for.
To that point, and I'll have you hand the microphone to Lucas Johnson. To that point, we talked to Stephen Bardo the other day, and Derek asked him, would you have wanted to play for Bob Knight? And Bardo's like, no, he would not have wanted to play. Now, Lucas, you were always a little bit, I mean, I don't know how you explain Lucas Johnson's game, but it was definitely intimidating, such as Bob Knight himself. Brian's beating himself over the head. That's probably what it was like to watch Lucas play. But you probably would have loved playing for Coach Knight.
Absolutely. And I think, here's the thing, I think with Coach Knight, especially in today's society, he comes across as just a bully, and there's no way he could possibly coach today's players. You're probably right. He probably couldn't coach today's players. But back then, it was an absolutely different game. I would have loved to play for Coach Knight. Here's the thing. If you were willing to run through a wall for Coach Knight, Coach Knight loved you. And a lot, you know, so you didn't need to be the most skilled player. You need to not make mistakes, and you needed to play really, really hard. I'm like, I had one of those two. I played really, really hard. I made a bunch of mistakes, but I played really, really hard. And a lot of times that made up for it. But I honestly think, like, today, you know, a Coach Knight would not exist in today's society, which is, in my opinion, is unfortunate. He groomed men, you know, he groomed boys into men, and a lot, like Brian said, like, those guys loved playing for him. There's not a lot of guys outside of Neil Reed who would say that, you know, who would say that they didn't like playing for him. I went to, you know, a couple camps with those guys and Big Ten trips, all-star trips overseas, and like Kirk Hastings, like, yeah, I love the guy. I'm like, dude, you're like the most, like, you know, he's the most centered guy, doesn't do anything, doesn't drink, he's like, yeah, I love the guy. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, it didn't make sense, but those guys all loved him.
What was going to Bloomington like during the Knight area, just in terms of the fan base and everything? I know it's still one of the better environments in college basketball, but I bet during that era of time was probably a different level.
Well, and here's the thing. It didn't even need to be during the Knight era, but I remember going there, and literally it was, you know, a lot of words that I can't repeat over the air to the 5 people that are listening.
I know.
No, wait, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just playing. But the fans themselves were on me, which was great. I loved it because, you know, they're like, oh, you suck, Johnson, you F you, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, I go, if you got in my head and I didn't score my 3 points and get my 4 rebounds, I think our team's going to be fairly successful. I'm like, all I'm doing is drawing attention away from Frank, who's going to go score 30 on you. I'm like, this is great. But here's the thing. I loved going to those environments. I think Brian did too. Like, Brian was very similar to me. Like, those environments were awesome. And the greatest thing is that we got to come home to probably one of the best environments there was in Assembly Hall, and it's even better now with the configurations and all of that. Like, the Orange Crush, the Orange Crush made a lot of other places seem tame, in my opinion.
Lucas, I want to ask you one more before I get Lon and then Brian back in, but
what did Brian do to Lucas when he was young? Like, for Lucas to end up like he was? I'm going to let Brian think about that.
How much time you got, Lon?
Right. I mean, I want to know the abuse you put this poor kid through.
Shaved his eyebrows, gave him rug burns on his forehead. There were other things.
He did do that.
Bill Self was back recently, the Illinois-Kansas exhibition game. I want to get your guys' opinions maybe before we let you go about the team and being able to win that game. But Bill Self coming back to Champaign, what did you think about that and just your time playing for Bill?
Yeah, so I actually was fortunate enough to come down to the game and bring my daughter. And it was a really cool experience for me to be able to kind of share that with her.
Yeah.
Show her the new practice facility, show her the new, what is new to me, Assembly Hall. It'll always be the hall. Sorry, State Farm Center. But like Coach Self, I was actually really happy that he got the response and warm welcoming that he did.
Agree.
Whether that was because Dickinson was next to him and any response was going to be better than the response that Hunter got. But it was really, really cool to see Coach Self back in Champaign.
Yeah.
If I'm honest, like, I know there's a lot of, Illinois fans that hold resentment towards him. They hold resentment towards him because he was a really, really good coach.
Amen.
And he made the best decision for him. And, you can't blame him for that. He's clearly done really, really well for himself.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
Nothing wrong with a lifetime contract. I have that, but I'm a teacher, so the pay isn't the same.
Not quite the same, yeah.
Not quite the same. But it was really, really cool to see him. It was really cool to introduce my daughter to him.
Right.
Like that was a little cool and strange at the same time because I don't get, last time I saw Coach Self was at Arch's funeral.
Wow,
and I'm like,
that's right.
I'm like, this isn't the greatest time to see you. And the time before that was 10 years before that. So I don't get to see him all that much. So when he was back in town, it was great. I'll tell you this, Illinois looked damn good in that game. And anybody who wants to put the exhibition label on that game wasn't at that game. Both of those teams were trying to win that game.
Big time.
There were plenty of guys on the Illinois bench and the Kansas bench that didn't see time because they were trying to win that game. And so it was a really nice win for Illinois.
Yes.
Even if they didn't win, they fought and fought and fought. And to be in a game against a top-tier team like that shows a lot of promise for the Illinois basketball team.
That's no doubt. I'm going to have you hand the mic to Brian. Brian Johnson and Lucas Johnson are here at Pia's with us. Chuck Smith here as well. So just as an FYI, he brings the liquor. So we got to say hi to Chuck. Are you kidding me?
Hi, Chuck.
Chuck. Brian, I got to ask you. This is an older team this year. This Illinois team, and of course you with Kevin Turner, Hester, and those guys. You guys had that older team when you won the Big Ten, and of course Lucas.
There is someone who remembers that team.
I have Brian's autograph, and yours. I got both your autographs at the office with the Big Ten championship. Sure, that's kind of cool that you both won. Of course, Lucas will brag about his.
I won too.
Here we go. Yeah, I knew I was setting that up. Sorry, Brian.
Thanks,
what does it mean to have experience like that for a team? And I know it means at the end of a game you're not going to whatever just blow it down the stretch. But how big and how important is that to have guys that have been through the wars?
Yeah, totally. I think. I remember playing on a team with 5 seniors that logged a lot of minutes, and it felt like you had 5 extensions of your coach on the floor, and you get the advantage of having seen things and having been through that, obviously. And, there's some intangibles that come with time served, and so to have this team be an older team, to have some more experience, to have been through some of those things, you feel like some of those rookie mistakes are behind them, and some of those, wiser, veteran, savvy plays are ahead of them and kind of maybe in store for us this season. And so it's an anchoring, kind of some lead in your keel, and coaches love that. You get a little more extension of that coach presence on the floor. And so when you get that amongst, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 5 guys on the court, that's a pretty effective equation,
Brian was like playing with Lucas, and I hear a lot of stories from Lon. When Georgie was here, you talk about the personalities. Like, oh man, Lucas, Demir, those guys were just on their own level. So what was that like?
Yeah, well, I feel mildly personally responsible because I hosted all of them on the recruiting trips, and I'm like, what, dude? Well, I feel I feel like I should be held accountable for this. Yeah, but then they all turned into, Lucas has been my brother, but the rest of those guys turned into my friends, and I watched them play and was still around when they were playing, and so I stuck around and played with them, like at off-season conditioning and some of that kind of stuff. That was a lot of fun. By the time they were successful, I'm thinking, these guys are so big and so fast and so strong compared to like when I played, like it just keeps improving and keeps increasing, but it was fun to cheer them on and call them friends, and to be able to kind of go from being on the court to sitting in the stands and being an Illini fan.
Did you hear about the record that Brian holds?
No. Uh-oh.
Oh, a little bit. Here's a little Illini trivia for you. You guys know a lot.
Yeah.
About Illini sports. A lot. I would claim an elite level of knowledge about Illini sports.
Except,
do you guys know who the only person is in Illini athletics history to ever earn 2 athletic scholarships?
Well, I'm going to guess Brian Johnson.
The answer is Brian Johnson. I earned mine and Lucas's.
Oh! Boom! Now, I should just end it right there is what I should do. I should just end it. And you just drop the mic. I don't want it to break. Let's don't do that. Last question, and that's good. What is it like to come back now for you guys? Obviously, everybody still remembers you guys and all the winning that occurred with the Johnsons in uniform. But what is it like to come back now and just kind of take it all in?
Well, the funny thing is when I came back for the game with Coach Self in Kansas with my daughter, like people came up to me and they were talking to me and asking me questions and asking for autographs, and my daughter's like, ew. I honestly think
that's weird.
Her response is like, ew. Like, why does anyone want to talk to you, B, your autograph? It's like you're just dad. Like, and that's not even that impressive. Like, it was kind of a cool experience because it definitely brought me back down to earth a little bit. But I love sharing it with them and love sharing it with my wife. My wife was a college basketball player, so coming back to campus and hanging with them, I love what Coach Underwood's building.
Yes.
I love that we're finally to a point that I feel that we're moving in the right direction and kind of building on every single year, which is great. I think we got the right guy at the helm.
I agree.
And we're no longer that team that is, are we going to make the NCAA tournament?
My goodness.
I here's the thing. When I came in my freshman year, we sucked. Like, we were awful. And we won 3 games in the Big Ten.
Yes.
Hey, and we still almost made the Big Ten. Or we still almost made the NCAA tournament by winning the Big Ten tournament. That was a bad year, but it was every other year was, all right, who are we playing? What is our seed? It wasn't a question of, are we going to make it? And I think we're getting to that point where now it's like, all right, we are an NCAA tournament team. We're a top 5 team in the Big Ten every single year, which is just so much fun to see. Oh, God.
The other owner of Pia's walked in, and Lucas started to cringe, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I bet he had that troubled look back in the day. I got to ask you guys one more question. The transfer portal and NIL. Now, Lucas, I know you were a little bit flashier, I think, in terms – I don't even know how to say that – than Brian. Brian just did his job and just did it well. Lucas kind of got the attention. Look, he drew another charge. But the NIL and the – right, he's right. Eric Meyer is now telling stories about Lucas. This is going to be fun here. We got to get Lucas out of here. He's like – he's going to scale that fence on the way out.
I'm going to be no longer a teacher after this.
But what you guys see this portal, you see this NIL, that's crazy, isn't it?
Well, and kind of 2 completely separate issues. I think the portal scares me because we're just teaching this generation that, hey, if things aren't going well, abandon it, bail on it.
Go to the next
Go somewhere else.
Yep.
Like, I got the idea of it when, hey, the implementation of it was for when coach leaves.
Sure.
And you kind of signed on because that coach was there, and they're no longer there. All right, you have the ability to leave. Great. But the floodgates opened, and now it's just like, all right, I didn't get enough playing time this year. Suck it up and work harder.
Right.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're basically just grooming a bunch of pansies.
Yep.
Like, it's kind of pathetic. But the NAL stuff, I'll tell you this. My face would have been on so many Cam's billboards. I would have been the home of the Drinking Illini back in the day. And Eric Meyer would have pay me a pretty penny.
That is awesome.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
I also might have been kicked out of college if we had Instagram back in the day. So,
how much money would D. Brown have made on NIL?
Oh, my gosh. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
He was the face of college basketball.
Yes, absolutely. And it amazes me to the level that it went as quickly as it went. Like, there was no, like, trickle.
Right.
It was like, all right, we're just,
Here we go.
Faucets open, let's go. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, these guys are they're making what? Just for being on the team? I'm like,
amazing.
You don't even play. Like,
it's amazing. It really is. All right, let's go back to Brian Johnson for one more. I'm just going all over the place with questions here, but I've always wanted to ask you this. And by the way, we are live at Pia's here at WSJK, Tuscola, Champaign-Urbana, ESPN 93.5, the home of the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course. Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Oh, no. Now we're going to get Lucas singing. This is scary. I want to ask you about your Big Ten championship team,
yes,
Brian,
sir.
and I know, Lucas, you won too. I get that. But that year with Matty Heldman and what he was able to accomplish, and it's amazing that you both have lost great friends and great teammates in terms of Robert Archibald and Matt Heldman. But what happened, just what Matt was as a player, and also Kevin Turner, who I feel like kind of came here because of Bryant Notary, right?
Yeah,
and then turned into a legit scorer in the Big Ten. And I know there's more and more and more, but those two guards, Brian, what was that like playing with those two guys?
Oh, they put so much pressure on teams. They both could extend their range. They could both shoot the three with killer precision, right? And Matt was a floor general, not just a shooter, right? And so people, sometimes we can think of Matt as draining threes. We watched him do that quite a bit, but he was Coach Kruger on the floor,
I bet.
The rest of us looked to him to get it going and to get us in order and to set the stage. And so Matt really was our coach on the floor. And then Kevin, he just had sneaky scoring game, right?
Could, man.
Like you watch some of these guys in the NBA and you just kind of look at them, you're like, they're just a scorer. They're not a shooter or a driver or whatever. They're just a scorer. That was Kevin.
That was him.
Kevin had mid-range game. He had distance game.
Yep.
He could score inside. He'd go and get fouled and go to the foul line. He'd put 15 points on you at the foul line. Kevin had mad game. He was really a scorer. And, Kevin was a little bit of a, Bryant Notary's friend's going to come here. What? Kevin Turner was an anchor for our squad.
He was unbelievable.
He was the only reason we got to the Kohl Center with a win. Not to mention other games, right? And Kev was tough, man. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Kev's not putting up 30 at the YMCA leagues right now.
Right.
Like, it wouldn't shock me at all.
Okay, now I got to be equal, and then this is it, because I see the glass is almost empty here, so we got to get you guys.
There's always refills.
Got to get you back inside.
Hey, bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill.
Lucas, it was great to see Frank back, wasn't it? It was good to see Frank back. What was it like? I mean, we talk about Kevin and Matt and those guys. What was it like to play with Frank? I've always said he might be the best player I've ever seen at Illinois, just what he could do. What was that like to play with him?
Oh, I know I'm biased, but bar none, he's the best player to ever put on an Illinois basketball uniform. Like, and the crazy thing is, he didn't even try.
No.
Like when he tried, he put up 30.
Yeah.
And then when he didn't, Coach Self wanted to strangle him and kill him. I remember, specific story, we're playing Seton Hall at home.
Oh, yeah.
And we're down 19 at half. We're ranked 5 in the country. They're ranked like 6 or 4 or something like that.
Eddie Griffin was it? Eddie Griffin?
Yeah, exactly. And we're down 15 at half. We come in, maybe even 19 at half. We come into the locker room. Coach Self puts Frank behind him. He goes, "Listen, guys." He goes, "You know what? F this guy. We don't need him.
Wow, he's talking about Frank?
Yeah. He's like, you know what, Frank? You do your own thing. We don't need him. He goes, he's doing his own game. He doesn't even care, whatever. Guys, it's us. That's all we got.
Wow.
That's all we got. So we walk out. We go out halftime. We start half. Frank scores the first 10 points. Frank runs by. He goes, is that good enough? I'm like, could you just do that all the time? Like, that's
amazing.
He was that good.
Yes.
He could turn it on and off. I'm like, can you just rust it on? Like, right. I go, Frank, mine is rusted on and I suck. I'm trying as hard as I possibly can, and I'm like a third of the player you are.
It's amazing.
It really did amaze me. He was that gifted and that talented, and when he wanted to do it and when he wanted to play, he was there. There was no question why he was the Big Ten Player of the Year.
Yeah.
The only question was why he wasn't the National Player of the Year.
I love it. I was very honored to be able to cover both these guys in college, and it was fun, and they won at a high level. Brian Johnson, Lucas Johnson, thanks so much for coming by, guys. It means the world to me, and it means the world to our listeners and Pipes. I mean, it's fun to catch up with you guys always. Have fun. I'll see you tomorrow morning, I know, at some point.
Absolutely.
Lucas Johnson, good stuff, buddy. Great stuff, my man. Brian, thanks, buddy. Great to see you. That is awesome. What a duo for Illinois sports with Brian and Lucas Johnson and what they were able to accomplish, Derek Piper. Are you starting to get the sense that you wish you would have been covering some of these teams?
100%. I'm so I got the FOMO really bad, fear of missing out, although I know I missed out, so it's unfortunate.
Time. They were wonderful and wanted not only great guys, but won at a high level. All right, Kyle is mad at me because he's like, you've got to take a break soon. So we're going to do that. We're going to send it back to Kyle. You take a break. Next hour, we'll talk some more Illini basketball, obviously, and get you ready for Indiana and Illinois tomorrow at 11 a.m. We'll do it all next. It is The Drive.
Accumulation, preservation, generation. At Busey Bank, these are the principles we use to build meaningful financial partnerships with our clients and their families. With sound advice and vast resources, partner with Busey for a personalized approach to your legacy. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
The hammering, the sawing, the drilling, all the sounds of the workplace are music to our ears. You can be a part of construction projects large and small as a Carpenters Local 243 member. Learn to excel with apprentice and journeyman training. Members enjoy all the benefits this internationally recognized union has to offer. It's a life-changing decision. Join the Local 243 family tradition. Contact Carpenters Local 243 at 217-356-5463.
From computer systems to brakes and tires too, at PDR, fixing cars is what they do. Remember, when you turn the key and the car won't run, call 367-9481 or use their dedicated text-only line at 383-0619. Additional information including repair quotes and online scheduling requests available from the website at pdrauto.com. Remember, they are what's best for your truck or car. They are PDR.
You moved into your new home using 2 men in a truck. The garage was clean. Then,
I love the new recliner. What are we going to do with this old one?
Put it in the garage for now.
over time, this cycle continued.
Garage for now. Put it in the garage for now. Put it in the garage for now. Put it in the garage for now.
It happens. You got junk. Call 2 Men in a Truck to get rid of all your junk. Residential or commercial, 2 Men in a Truck has a solution for your junk removal. Contact them at 2menchampagne.com.
2 Men in a Truck.
With the leaves and temperatures beginning to fall, it's time to make sure those furnaces are in great running order. Get that furnace tuned up so it doesn't let you down on the cold nights. Dogtown is the People's Choice #1 HVAC company again in 2023. Ask about the current 0% financing offer on all Lennox high comfort systems and single component units for qualifying applicants. The number's 217-841-4728. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend.
Like every bank, there's a time every day when we stop making loans. But at Iroquois Federal, we never stop making a difference. Thanks to an amazing team of employees who give back to their local communities all over Central Illinois. From hospital boards and local school programs to Kiwanis and the United Way, Iroquois Federal employees donated more than 1,000 volunteer hours last year. And we'll do it again next year, because the only thing we like more than making a loan is making a difference. Iroquois Federal, still friendly, still local, still here. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Saturday, November 18th for one night only at the Virginia Theater. Come out to the red carpet world movie premiere of the family-friendly comedy Irresponsible, starring Keith Campton. Parts of the movie filmed right here in our town and features dozens of local actors. Come and meet all the stars of the movie and ask questions, get pictures, and free autographs. Doors open at 6 p.m., showtime at 7. Virginia Theater, November 18th. For more information, go to thevirginia.org, thevirginia.org.
I'm not going to lie to you. We got Lucas Johnson behind us. This could be a little dangerous.
The mics are on. The mics are on.
The mics are on. Yeah, somebody remind Lucas. Tell Lucas we got hot mics going here, so we don't. How fun was that to talk to the Johnson boys? They're coming to the tailgate tomorrow.
I know you had mentioned that. I didn't know that they were going to come out here today, so that was a amazing surprise.
That was awesome.
Thrilling.
I had sent Lucas a message and said, hey, if you're going to be in town early, swing on by. And then the next thing I know, I see two mammoth 6'8" guys or whatever coming out with a beer in their hand.
Spectacular.
I'm like, hey, I think I know. They've been golfing in Rantoul today and doing a lot of stuff, so they're taking advantage of this. All right, Pipes, we're live at Pia's.
That's right.
And we got a football game tomorrow, but we also have basketball tonight. Greg Campy is the coach of
Oakland. Good coach.
He has been around forever. How good is this Oakland team? I'm not expecting you to break down everything, although I did see your three keys and a pick.
3 keys and a pick, yep.
I finally got that right. So what are we thinking about this Oakland team that I think only lost by 6 maybe to Ohio State?
They did, yeah. They were up for a lot of the second half there in Columbus. They were up at halftime and extended that into about 7 minutes left. But it was a 3-point game. I remember being at State Farm Center on Monday and kind of score watching and whatnot and tapping Jeremy and Joey on the shoulder and be like, Ohio State's up 3 with less than a minute to go. You never know where that one's going to go. Ultimately, Columbus was able to see the home team get a win. But Oakland shoots a ton of threes. That's kind of their MO. They're going to go bombs away from deep. They got a D2 transfer who took 18 shots against Ohio State. All 18 were threes.
Wow, is that true?
Yeah. He made 6 of them. So between him and another guy that they've had for a while, they're going to shoot a lot from the outside. Rocket Watts is a familiar name from Michigan State.
That's right.
I was looking back. So I remember he had a really good game in Champaign his freshman year. That would have been 2020, 2021. And guys on the court in that game, Ayo Dosunmu, Cassius Winston, Kofi Coburn, Xavier Tillman, who's in the NBA right now. Rocket Watts was the high scorer in that game with 21 points. So that's a talented player who didn't pan out. They tried to turn him into a point guard at Michigan State post-Cassius. Didn't work out for him. He ends up going to Mississippi State, doesn't play a lot, ends up at Oakland. So I will tell you, he didn't score against Ohio State. He was 0 for 5 from the field. He was pretty non-existent in that game. But if there was a way, I know in all these movies now, I wrote in my article, kind of the multiverse. You get the Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man just shows up and he's here. Like, if Rocket Watts from 3 or 4 years ago shows up tonight at State Farm Center, you might be worried.
Could be
so he's a talented guy that's been a while since he's been that dude, but he's got that in there somewhere deep down. So between that, they also have a 6'6" forward who was all-league player last year.
Okay.
Who's I think that's a good matchup for Coleman. I think Coleman's going to see a lot of him at the defensive end. He's someone that can shoot it mid-range, can kind of post you up a little bit, take you out on the perimeter. Of course, Coleman being a versatile big man, you don't worry about, all right, I don't know if you can get out and check him. So I guess kind of the broad picture is Oakland, particularly with their starting five, is pretty talented.
Yes.
And if they're hitting threes and Illinois is kind of lackluster, sleep in their eyes or whatever it is, I think that's something that you'd worry about. Defensively, they're going to play a 1-3-1.
Oh, really?
Which is going to be an interesting look.
Interesting.
I think that
I hated that 1-3-1.
You can fall in love with the three with that.
Yeah.
Illinois is, I think so far they've shot the three too much. You go even to the exhibitions when they were making them. Eastern, they didn't move the ball enough in terms of swinging it and kind of drive and kick type things.
Right.
I would want to see them really attack that 1-3-1, get inside, because Oakland doesn't have a lot of size, and on that back end you can really get to the rack, get fouled. Of course, you got to make free throws, but
sure.
The short of it is Oakland's a decent team. If you mess around with them, they'll be in the game.
I asked you the impossible question in hour one of why Illinois football plays better sometimes on the road than they do at home. That was nearly impossible to answer. I've got the second one. How's Coleman going to do tonight?
Yeah.
I mean, 1 point the last game. Obviously, he does a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't want to be on that bandwagon or on that list of people that just kind of slam Coleman and stuff. But, you know, I mean, it was just an interesting game basically against Eastern all around, essentially. But
he didn't play well at all. He was not.
He didn't.
He was not in the right mental headspace. He was doing some questionable things offensively, and Jermaine Hamlin, of all people, was kind of bodying him up in the post. Like, that's not good enough. So for a guy that not only needs to lead this team and be an example setter for Illinois, like for him to be on NBA mock drafts, if he is serious about trying to come back for one more year and have the best possible NBA draft stock, you can't have a game like that. He did, unfortunately, but now going forward, you've got to take that out of your game if you're him and really be someone, because those people want to be able – those people, I'm saying, you know, NBA front office people, coaches – want to know that if Coleman were to be on my roster as a role player, if we put him out there, we can trust
absolutely
that he's going to do some things in terms of, you know, a little bit more consistency on a night-to-night basis. And so far, you know, the sample size is, yes, he's a talented player. Yes, when he's good, he does a lot for you. He's got to be at a higher level on a given night.
I would not be a professional. I still don't know if I am or not. All these years later.
You get paid for this, so technically that's professional.
Okay,
yeah.
That works. If I wouldn't follow up with what you had said a minute ago, and then we'll take a break after this, Kyle. We'll hear a little bit from Brad Underwood when we come back. But you said it. I think Illinois takes too many threes. I think last year they took too many threes. This is not that great of a three-point shooting team. You would think that a team that is not that great at shooting threes would get the idea that we probably shouldn't shoot that many threes.
Yeah.
What is a good range in your mind for this team? And I'm not asking you to do the math in your head right now of how many, but, you know, I mean, obviously you want Goody. If he's open and he's from that three-point line, you want that flying, right? Marcus Damask, if he's set up, Gary Aiken hit the three as well. I'm sure I'm missing someone here, obviously. Coleman can hit it. But I guess what complicates a team that wants to take too many threes when they're not really that great at it?
It's going to be a feel thing on a given night. If certain guys have it going, like if Terrence is making threes on a night, you don't want to prevent him from taking those. Like if he's back in his mode like he was against Kansas, you don't want to dial that back. I think Coleman, if he's hitting the pick and pop and taking them within rhythm and catch and shoot rather than off the dribble, I'm fine with those. So it's really maybe a feel on night to night. I don't think on the whole you probably want 30-plus threes out of Illinois. Again,
right.
There will be some situations where you might be a little bit more willing, but I think something that Brad's talked about, not only in terms of quality of shot, but when you're taking it, is it coming off of good ball movement and action? Are you breaking down the defense and then finding that three on a kick out? Or are you swinging around the perimeter, making that extra pass to the guy that's going to knock down a wide open corner three versus is it one pass? Is there 15 seconds left in the shot clock? And then are you chucking it up then? So I think context matters as far as that goes. But, I mean, you want Luke shooting them. You want Marcus to take those opportunities. He's not going to shoot 1 for 6 from three very often as he did against Eastern Illinois. So I think this can be and should be a better three-point shooting team than last year. I mean, how could you be much worse?
Be tough.
But, it's really for me is just kind of the overall just emphasis of getting downhill and making sure you don't settle too much. Because Eastern, I mean, And then it's the most frustrating part about it is when you look up at the scoreboard and it shows 1 for 8 from 3, and then yet maybe 3 minutes later they've taken 5 more. Now they're 1 for 13. Like, at what point do you just say, when you're 1 for 8, oh, maybe we should go to the rim? So there's a little bit too much of that with this team sometimes.
Seems obvious.
It's not enough self-awareness to be like, we should probably try to drive the ball.
Yeah.
And sometimes they fall in love with that as far as the 3 ball too much.
It makes sense. $4 fireball shots. They were just passed around. We missed them.
We did.
I have a feeling I know somebody here, though, that could maybe make that happen. After the show, of course, now that the FCC is listening. Also, $5 bullet bourbons. That's all day. $4 fireball, $5 bullet bourbons. $3.50 Coors Light drafts today. You can get a bucket of Coors Light for $16.75. Twisted tea cans, $3.75. Bullet Ryan bourbon is mentioned, $5. Captain Morgan as well. That's a lot of times a nice little go-to drink. We used to fill up a Hardee's Moose Cup full of Captain Morgan and Coke when we got home from the bar at SIU. Does that make any sense? And then you wonder the next day, like, one of my buddies is like, I got an idea. Why don't you fill that up with water? You'd feel a lot better the next day. I'm like, yeah. And then that night we wouldn't fill it with water. There's no doubt about it. So $4 Captain Morgan drinks. Got a lot of people at Pia's. They're kind of scrunched inside. I don't blame them, but it's not that cold. I mean, I know I'm in shorts and I'm an idiot, but it's not that bad.
Can you still feel anything?
Yeah, my legs aren't even – I mean, if you felt my – I'm not going to have you feel my legs.
I won't, no.
They're not even cold, I promise. My hands always get cold, that's for sure. All right, let's talk some Illinois football. Also, we're going to hear a little bit from Brad Underwood when we come back. The Johnson brothers are still here. They're behind us, and I don't know what they're doing. They're taking pictures. They're giving autographs. I don't. As long as we just remind Lucas there's a hot mic. That's all that needs to be. That's all that needs to be said. Let's take a break. We are live at Pia's. We'll be here until 5. Come out. Diane Ducey will be here until 8 p.m. doing a little DJing. No, not till maybe not that late, but she'll be here afterwards till the fan bus leaves. Okay, and let's don't forget the Pia's fan bus. Come here. You can take the bus to the game. It leaves 35 minutes before the game, is what Chad Pitcher told us. And then they bring us back, and Diane's got tickets for tonight's game. She's got tickets for tomorrow's Illinois football game as well. So come out if you need some tickets. We'll set you up live at Pia's. Let's take a break. It is The Drive.
Kelsey Furniture in downtown Tuscola sells Tempur-Pedic beds. What's it like?
I'm going to tell you right now, Stevie, that thing is the best thing I've ever slept on in my life. My wife and I both have said we've never had better night's sleep. And the people at Kelsey's were fantastic. Brian is the guy that helped us. As much as I did my research, he has a world of knowledge about beds themselves. Oh, man, it's like sleeping on a cloud, man.
Kelsey Furniture, downtown Tuscola.
Reach your savings goals. Busey Bank CD specials can help. Watch your money grow with competitive rates and offers. Visit Busey.com/CD rates. Visit your local service center or call 1-800-67-BUSEY today. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868.
Fighting Illini football is back in Memorial Stadium for Dad's Day and Military Appreciation Day, Saturday, November 11th, as they take on the Indiana Hoosiers. Get tickets for as low as $20 as we celebrate dads for this proud Illinois tradition. All active military personnel are eligible to receive free tickets. Be in your seat early for a special military flyover. Illinois football versus Indiana, Saturday, November 11th. Get tickets and more info at fightingillini.com.
I'm Justin Ike, co-owner of Fred's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning, Electric, and Underground.
So, Justin, tell me what you see as typical when it comes to sewer repair. Give me a scenario.
Your sewer's backed up and somebody comes along and says, you need this repair for X amount of dollars. Here's my price. And you don't think to go looking for another company or a second opinion because you don't feel like you have time.
So is it possible that you might get charged a little more because it's kind of a desperate moment? Do some companies do that?
Oh, absolutely they will. They know you're in a pinch. Typically, if you call us, me or Will can be out there within an hour to look at that problem for you. Whether you call me first or you call me second, make sure you give me a call.
Anything else, Justin?
You can always trust Fred's.
Great to know. Thank you. That's Justin Ike, the co-owner of Fred's Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning, Electric, and Underground. If you want more information about this great 45-year family-owned company, just go to fredscu.com. That's fredscu.com. Hi, it's Stevie J. So I took my mom into Audibel, owned by Jeff Hanley, who owns 13 locations around central Illinois. She's had so much trouble hearing for so long. Audibel, Audibel, for hearing. And some of the new technologies, they've got AI now for some of these hearing aids, and they're virtually invisible. It's unbelievable, and it helped my mom. It helped her incredibly. We've been to other places. This is by far the best place I've ever been in for hearing help. Go to audibelteam.com. That's Audibel. If you want more information about Audibel and how Jeff Hanley and his amazing culture and amazing team that they have, go to audibelteam.com. That's Audibel, audibelteam.com. You'll be so happy you found Audibel. Amazing work. They got a location in Champaign. Go to audibelteam.com. That's audibelteam.com.
Are you one of those guys out there tinting windows day in and day out, all different shades of black, and ready to put a little color in your life? Come work for us. At Aftershock, we're looking for a guy with experience in wrapping, whether it be window tinting, vinyl wrapping, anything of that sort, or somebody with just ambition that wants to show up to work and be proud of what they do. You know those wraps with Troy Lands on the back waving at you? That's our work. Call us, 833-DECAL-IT, or email office@aftershockdd.com. We want you.
When it comes to finding a reliable vehicle, look no further than Sarah Champagne, your trusted automotive destination. They carry a lineup of top brands, including Honda, BMW, Subaru, GMC, and Buick. And they're not just about cars, they're about people. Their team is dedicated to providing you with trustworthy service and dependable vehicles that fit your lifestyle. Experience the difference at Sarah Champagne. Visit Sarah, S-E-R-R-A, champagne.com.
The Drive, ESPN Radio 93.5. The Drive with Tay and Piper. Lante, Derek Piper. We are live at Pia's Sports Bar and Grill. It is a legendary spot.
There's too much fun going on for us to be working right now.
It's ridiculous.
It's tough.
Everybody's having fun. They're passing out fireball shots. They're just, everybody, and then we're here working. Now they got a different shot. I won't say. Angry balls. Angry balls.
I'll say it.
Yeah, right. Brian Johnson's still here. I'm not worried about Brian. I'm not. But when Lucas is behind us, that's when I start to panic on that end. Illinois basketball tonight against Oakland. We touched on that a little bit.
Yep.
What do you think Brad wants to see out of this squad before they get set to host a really good Marquette team next week?
I think for first and foremost, it's going to be the start of the game, just the focus, the consistency of. When Marquette comes to town, the number 5 team in the country, that place is going to be juiced. You will not worry about the response and the mentality of your team that night. I think this is kind of a game that bigger picture throughout the course of a season. What are our habits? What can we expect game in and game out, and just really starting to establish that and turn the page from last year, where there were stretches of slow starts and overlooking teams, playing down the competition. So I think that as far as that goes, that's what you want to see early on. As it relates to Marquette, you want to get Coleman going. You want to make sure that he's bouncing back from this and feeling good, obviously. It's just trying to rechannel what was working so well against Kansas, which was a lot. You had a lot of rebounding intensity, getting on the glass and having that be an asset for you, not something where Eastern Illinois has darn near 10 offensive rebounds in the first half. Right. So there's just a lot to clean up as far as that goes. But it's a different matchup Oakland's unique in terms of how many threes they take. They're unique in terms of playing 1-3-1. So, like, in terms of translating to Marquette, there might not be as much there, but it's just handling a team that is going to be confident, knowing that they just took Ohio State to the wire. They're not going to be afraid to come in and play Illinois. I was looking, kind of a side note here, I was looking at Greg Campy's recent battles in the Big Ten, and last year they played Michigan State, they lose by 12. 2 years ago they play the Hunter Dickinson Michigan team that went to the Elite Eight with Mike Smith and company, and they go to overtime. So Campy's played the Big Ten pretty well through the years, especially of recent. And while you look and see a 24-point spread tonight, I think that there's a chance it's a lot closer than that.
I don't doubt that it will be. I don't doubt that. And of course, for an Illini fan, you're wanting Marquette to get here, but obviously these games are important, and they're important in the stepping stone to get you to the style of play, or not the style, but the kind of play that Marquette's going to bring here.
Right, and I think that while they're different players, like we talked about Rocket Watts being a talented guy, seeing maybe Ty or however you go about handling that. As far as the defensive matchup, because Tyler Cole's coming next. Yeah. And while, again, like Rocket's probably more, and they call him Rocket for a reason, he's pretty quick off the bounce. He can,
he is.
Can get in the lane. Kolek more of a shooter and table setter, a little more crafty. So they're different, but just to face a player that was once a top 100 recruit, a guy that goes to Michigan State, and just knowing that, all right, you see a good point guard and just trying to lock in on that and making sure it's tough for him, and then you want to make life tough when Marquette and company come to town.
Brad Underwood had a chance to talk about Oakland earlier this week, so we want to get you a chance to hear from the head coach at the University of Illinois. So let's, Kyle, back there in the studio, let's fire up a little Brad Underwood for a bit while we get some more stories from the Johnson boys behind us.
Get one of the premier offensive teams in college basketball coming in here tomorrow. There'll be a different look. This is an old veteran team. Greg Campy, very, very good friend, has I think he's the longest tenured coach maybe in the country. I think he started in like 86, maybe 84 at Oakland. Just built that into a terrific program, gone from Division II status. When I was an assistant at Western Illinois, they came into the league. Got an incredible facility, and he's done an incredible job of finding a way to play, and they're very successful with it. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. They've got a young man that's through 2 exhibitions at a regular season game. I think he's taken 41, somewhere right in there. Threes, no twos. And his running mate is equally as good. They've got Rocket Watts at the point, who we remember Rocket from his Michigan State days, transferred to Mississippi State, and now is back home in the Detroit area. Very good front line that scores the ball, but a very, very high-octane offense. If you'll remember a few years ago, I think Oakland had a player that went the entire season and didn't shoot at 2. I think he took 230 threes and no twos. Or something crazy like that. He had a guy right before that, Bader, I think was his last name, that took like 360 threes in a season. And the Golke kid is a transfer from Division II. He's big and strong at 6'3", 215, 220 pounds. He took 18 threes against Ohio State. And he gets a look. He's got great range, 8, 10, 12 feet behind the line. And they run him off a lot of actions. They play matchup zone. They play man, so we'll see some multiple defenses. They're a very good offensive rebounding team. Long rebound, long threes equal long rebounds, so our guards have to do a great job of rebounding the basketball. So we know we've got our hands full. Team will be at the top of their league, and I think Michigan or Ohio State pulled away, and I think had a 6-point win, but was down most of the night in that ball game to them.
how much do you emphasize execution defensively early so that shooters like that don't get going?
I think the one thing you have to understand is he's going to make really hard shots. He's Steph like, and I'm not trying to compare him to Steph, but he's like that. He's going to take those type of shots. He's a terrific runaway shooter, running away from the rim. He pivots. He gets those off with extreme quickness. He's strong, so he gets separation. You just got to make him hard. You can't give him easy ones, and you can't miss. Lampman is the same type guy. He just doesn't shoot quite as many of them, or didn't, or hasn't to this point. But you've got to make every one of them hard. Know that he's going to receive triples, doubles, screens all night. This is a team that doesn't ball screen a lot, but they set a lot of cross screens, diagonal screens, back screens, pin downs to get those shooters going and opening, and then there's a lot of isolation play for their post players.
Coach, Trey Townsend is interesting matchup. Is he a guy that you throw multiple defenders at, or you got one guy in mind?
No,
who's going to check him?
There'll be a lot of guys guarding him. He reminds me a lot of Amani, just as a junior. He's a 6'6". Will shoot threes, gets it on the post. They run tons of action to him. He took 16 shots the other night against Ohio State. He's a guy that can pass it, you've got to make his touches as difficult as possible. You can't rest away from the ball with him, and then he's a really good isolation player. They put him in those spots. So Greg knows what he's doing on the offensive side. He puts those guys in areas and positions to score.
Brad, did anything stand out to you on film review of Monday night's game?
Yeah, we weren't very good. We just weren't very good. I think we played good offense for about 16 to 20 minutes in that. We had in our man stuff, we never got it reversed. We were as organized as we were in the Kansas exhibition. We were that disorganized. Coleman bringing the ball down the court. We had guys playing out of position where Coleman rim ran a lot in the Kansas scrimmage. We had guys unbalanced floor too many times. We never got to our splits. I think 5 times the entire game compared to 35 in the Kansas scrimmage, which got us to the foul line. And then I thought defensively we did some really solid things. But again, it was not very efficient on our part.
I guess with examples then of some really good things against Kansas and maybe some not so good against Eastern, how do you shift back to what worked so well?
Yeah, and most of that's mental. Most of that's just a mental approach to playing the game. And it's where this team's got to understand we got to grow. I never thought we would lose to Eastern, and that's not knocking them, but I just thought that we can't have that approach. And thought we were thought we got some great play off our bench, and those guys sparked us. And I think that's one of the real positive things we have this year is that guys aren't sharp. And we'll just set them, and we'll just find the right 5, and we did that, and it's nice to have that luxury.
What's your offensive rebounds a priority, Brad? And is there something else you can do with that, or is that just an effort thing for the guys?
It's an effort thing. It's when you get a higher percentage back against Kansas and you do Eastern Illinois, and we got 52% of them back a year ago. That's pretty much an effort thing. And 1 offensive rebound from our starters. That's, Quincy had 1 rebound. He had 10 against Kansas. And that's just a lack of effort, a lack of focus, and not just him. That's everybody. So, we shot 50%. We left a lot out there. to go get, and that's we can't have that.
I don't know if Dre needs more confidence, but when he does what he does and Amani does what he does in a game that counts, is there a different look about him after that? Do they settle in? How has that looked for you?
Yeah, and it's that fine line where they can't think it's that easy, because it's not, and you gotta find that line to not let them rest on their laurels, let them and their past. It's the next game. What happens usually is the attention on the opponent's scouting report becomes a little different, and Draven probably wasn't anywhere on the scouting report because of the way he played in the Kansas scrimmage. Now he'll be on a lot of people's scouting reports. So you've got to handle that. But I do think they're both very confident players anyway. And, both of those guys were exceptional, and they've had good weeks practice.
Make plans to pop into Pia's at 1609 West Springfield Avenue for happy hour from 3 to 6, Monday through Friday, with 16-ounce drafts, just $3.25. Well drinks, $4. Plus wine and seltzers for $4.50, and pitchers are $9. Taco Tuesdays get you big tacos for $2.50. $2 off on tequila shots, and margaritas are $5. Get Mexican beers for $4 each. Go south of the border on Tuesdays at Pia's. Then there's Whiskey Wednesdays and karaoke a few times a month on Fridays with $4 Fireball shots. Football fans, plan to party at Pia's before, after, and during games as you get on the watch parties with great prizes and giveaways during the fourth quarter on special game days. Get 5 bottles in the Coors Light bucket for $16.75, or enjoy the $8.95 pitcher special on Illini game days. For the Bears, $4 Miller Lite drafts in the 22-ounce keeper mugs and Simply Spiked lemonade. Pia's is the place to party any day of the week.
Accumulation, preservation, generation. At Busey Bank, these are the principles we use to build meaningful financial partnerships with our clients and their families. With sound advice and vast resources, partner with Busey for a personalized approach to your legacy. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth since 1868. Proud to be the official bank of the Fighting Illini. Member FDIC.
It's Chris Hightower, DeAndre Burns. They star in the movie Irresponsible. It's going to be at the Virginia Theater. Doors open at 6. Show starts at 7.
Yes, that'll be coming out, like I say, 11/18.
Whole bunch of local people involved. A lot of venues around this area, as he just mentioned. So we want to see a local movie. Go to thevirginia.org. What's the time of the movie?
Doors open at 6. Yep. The show will start at 7.
Okay.
Saturday.
Are you guys going to be there?
Yes, sir. Red carpet event.
Stars, man.
Yeah.
Red carpet.
We can get pictures with you?
Yes, sir. Wow. We're going to have a backdrop. There's VIP packages available.
Autographs.
General tickets available. Irresponsible.
Irresponsible, B-U-L-L.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And family friendly.
Yeah.
Family friendly. So really, that's refreshing, because sometimes you're really worried about what you're taking your kids to see. Dre Burns and Chris Hightower in Irresponsible. It's a movie. You get to hang with the stars, get some pictures, and just have a unique night out with the red carpet. And it does not happen very often. TheVirginia.org for details.
All right, I've lost Piper because Lucas Johnson is in the middle of a story, and I doubt I get him back. Benny's here. Gary Kling brought me a Band-Aid. I appreciate that from Gary. Ryan Nelson's there. He hasn't done anything for me. So other than that, I mean, what? Oh, did Lucas get done with that story?
We were having a good conversation.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just, I wish we could continue with it, but.
So we took another Lon's the shortest dude in the world picture. Where I'm not even the shortest dude in the world, but it was.
You were the shortest dude in the picture.
Lucas
so
is 6'8".
Yeah.
Is Brian 6'8"? 6'7". Yeah, 6'6"-ish. Of course, that's younger brother telling you that, so I don't know if I believe him. Pipes is 6'3"-ish.
Yeah, ish. Yep.
And I used to be like 6, I think, and now I'm like 5'10", 250. I don't think I'm 250, but I'm pushing it.
You're not 250.
So anyway, that picture, again, is just going to be me like, who's the short dude? Oh, he does the radio show with us. That's Lon. It's like, thanks a lot.
Anywhere short
Kyle's
when it's 30 degrees.
I know. Kyle's taller than me, too.
He is, yeah.
So it used to be like I never was the shortest, but now I definitely am the shortest.
It's all right.
It's okay. Listen, you're 53, drink. You don't worry about that. Oh, we need to play the – Kyle, do we have the drink button? I think we do, don't we?
We sure do.
Well, I say let's hit it. I mean, we just this couple just came out with beers, and they're ready to go. So I say hit the button, and let's get an Illini win tonight.
Happy hour.
Oh, that's pure, isn't it? That's just a pure sound. Fireball shots for half the crew. This is
halfway torture, man.
It really is.
Halfway. I don't complain about our work very often because we're very fortunate to do what we do. But
it's hazard pay.
Yeah.
Sit here and watch everybody do this. I've always thought that about NFL players. Like, you know how cool it is to just sit down in the bar or sit down at home and just watch all the NFL games, and then they're the ones that are actually working out there. It's like that kind of stinks probably for them. But
fair enough.
All right, you want to talk football or you want to talk basketball? I feel like we need to talk football.
Let's start with football, yeah.
I was going to say, nothing against Oakland, but I don't know that Oakland's going to be I don't know. It's not that important of a game unless you lose, so let's don't talk about that because we're not going to lose. Illinois football does have a big one. We don't know yet unless it has been released lately that Luke Altmaier is going to play, so this could be John Paddock as your starting quarterback. And it's an Indiana team, Derek, that you mentioned in the first hour is like 13th in the Big Ten in scoring defense.
That's right.
I don't even know. Are there like 28 teams now? Are they like halfway?
Still 14.
Oh, they're still at 14.
For the final year.
So obviously this is a team that Illinois should be able to score some points on. I think Indiana's given up 28 a game.
Yep.
Obviously you got to run the ball, but you're going to have to throw it too. So, is this, you talked about a quick start for Brad Underwood in the Illini basketball tonight. Illinois has gotten off to some decent starts the last few games. Maybe that's why they're playing better. It would be nice to do that again tomorrow.
Absolutely. I really liked the game plan going into Minnesota, the way they were able to mix run and pass, obviously use the play action to get some throws going. I think that'd be great for John Paddock to get in rhythm. You obviously would want Caden Fagan to be able to eat yards up on the ground and be able to really make Indiana think about bringing an extra guy down in the box and just kind of first reaction is on that run action and then be able to use the play action. Of course, you can use some screen game, some quick game with Isaiah, get the ball in his hands. That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
I think as I talked about earlier, I hope you don't change too much in terms of your aggressiveness or just your overall thought process as a play caller, just because if there is a situation that Luke Altmaier is not going to be out there. So offensively, I think Illinois should have a decent game, but we'll have to see it play out. We've had some lulls throughout the season in terms of offensively, some quarters, some slow starts and whatnot. So I think the fast start offensively could put you in a good situation. And Indiana offensively has been getting better quarterback play out of Brandon Sorsby.
Yes.
Taking over for Chase Jackson Davis's brother, who wasn't doing all that hot there. And Walt Bell, the offensive coordinator, gets fired midseason as well. So Illinois should, on paper, just kind of talent-wise, just overall expectations for the season, should be able to take care of business here. But Indiana, we were talking a lot about what Illinois has to play for. Indiana could theoretically, as crazy as this sounds, if they win out, they're going to a bowl game.
Right.
They could possibly save Tom Allen's job if they were going to, say, hey, you rally late, you win your last four, we'll keep you on for another season. And it's not that crazy to say when you got
Michigan State, I think, right?
Yeah, you got at Illinois, Michigan State at home, and at Purdue. That's their final three.
Wow.
They could technically win out, but obviously Illinois wants to make sure that dream's killed on Saturday.
If Illinois wins this to get to 5-5, then you're at Iowa, and that all of a sudden that's a pretty fun game, especially if Rutgers is able to take care of Iowa tomorrow. Maybe I think something else has to happen tomorrow as well, right? Isn't there another? Is it like Wisconsin needs to – or no, not Wisconsin. Yeah, maybe Wisconsin needs to lose again. Anyway, let's don't worry about that for right now. You still got to win some games here, but it would make that Iowa game fun. Johnny Newton will be back. Keith Randolph, we hope, as well.
Yep.
And you said it in the first hour, how nice it'll be to be able to play with both of those guys. Johnny Newton's best game maybe ever came at Indiana last year. He was at 10 tackles in that game, had a sack, had a bunch of pressures like he does every game. It's fun to watch those guys dominate, and I'm hoping tomorrow we see number 4 and number 88 just wrecking all over the place on that. Wreak havoc, that's what I'm looking for.
All of it. All of it.
Just all
Wreck
of it.
them, wreak havoc, everything. And really, you're trying to just soak up the last. I'm not trying to get sentimental here or anything, but I mean, you only got a couple more opportunities to watch that tandem, the law firm in duo, to be able to go out there and show what they can do, because Johnny's obviously moving on, and Keith might have that opportunity as well. So it's going to be fun to see what they can do the rest of this season, and still a lot on the table. And speaking on the table, Lucas Johnson's feet.
His feet are on the table.
He's comfortable, and we're having a good time.
So this is how nice I am. When he and Brian showed up today, I thought, well, let's get an interview with them real quick, because I'm sure they've got other things to do. And 2 hours later, they're still hanging at Pia's.
Kind of sad. We have nothing else to do. This is my life.
Did you send Brian to go eat with his daughter or what?
Do you see my wife anywhere here?
She is not here.
This is I love you, sweetie. This is in case she's one of the 3 people. Listening.
Right, exactly. There's 3 now. We've lost 2.
Sure. Right. Well, they had to go to bed, but.
That was good. I think we need to do this on a weekly basis, Brian.
Absolutely.
Or Brian. Oh, my God. I just called him Brian.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Whoa.
See, I'm the younger brother, and I always got called by my brother's name. Sorry, Lucas
So
Johnson.
we know who the favorite is. We get it. No, we get it. Right. So the guy who won 1 Big Ten championship is the favorite. No, I get it.
Does everybody know that Brian does have a twin? Like, you've got a brother, 2 brothers, I mean. What's he all about?
Yeah, we don't talk about
Is he
him.
just successful and just like ultra?
No, he's like that guy we lock in the in the dungeon.
I know.
Right, he's like, I'm the twin. Right, exactly. He's right. So we kind of just don't talk about it.
Right,
yeah, exactly. Well,
you got to see him at Christmas.
Right.
Kind of stuff.
You feel bad for him, right? Like, I mean, here are these ultra athletes.
Oh, here we go.
No one has ever called me an ultra athlete.
Talk about an ultra athlete. Look what Brian's showing off his athletic abilities right now.
Because he's carrying 24 ounces.
48, I think, right?
Oh, man, yeah, even better. Look at that man.
What's on the docket for tonight? You guys are staying out of trouble, but besides that.
That's not part of it.
Oh, that's not part of it.
Wait, who said that? I'm out.
I'm out.
If that is our plan, I'm out. I'm going back to the hotel. We're not doing this. I'll see you at tailgate.
Are you
tomorrow.
going to the game tonight? Basketball?
No.
No, you just went to the Kansas game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
what was it like when you played these kind of teams like Oakland?
Well, here's the thing. It was so early in the season. First of all, we did not play Kansas that early, right? So this was our first game, and we were jacked. Like we were excited, right? Like it was, all right. We want to show everyone what we can do.
Exactly.
We want to get out there and prove, whatever it was. Our ranking.
You might even get on the court. One of those. Oh yes!
I'm not Brett Melton.
Sorry to our Muhammad listeners.
One of you.
Alienated. We do actually have a guy that texts in, and it's Muhammad listener.
Oh, hey, Muhammad listener.
There we go.
Text in. Call in. We'll talk about B. Melt.
It's probably Brett's dad.
Probably Brett.
And that, it might be Brett. Kyle, can we just do this until like 6? Or I bet all of a sudden we're going to hear a commercial. He's like, I'm done. I'm done with these guys. How about a prediction for tomorrow, Illinois, Indiana?
Oh, gosh. Wait, so who's starting at quarterback?
We don't know yet. I assume Paddock.
Okay.
I would assume.
Okay. I mean, that was quite
impressive, wasn't it?
Quite impressive. Now, flash in the pan, and not saying that that's going to be the case.
You're right,
but like that was in the moment for that moment. That was incredible.
Incredible
to be able to do that, in for a stretch of an entire game. That's absolutely different, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why, he wasn't the starter, right?
Yep.
Not to be a jerk, but so it's interesting to see a new guy at the helm, if that's the case.
Veteran. Started 12 games last year for Ball State,
Right. So
we'll see.
So has actually been there, right? And been there, done
right.
that. So it's nothing new to him. I don't know. I mean,
we win. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
We win.
Wait, or we tailgate.
I got one last question for Lucas Johnson, then we got to go. How tired were you guys when you got to Michigan State in that Big Ten championship your freshman year?
I'll tell you this. I packed for one night.
I did too. I've got a good story about that. I'll tell you over a cold.
I literally packed for one night. we came up there.
You
we
had Quincy
played,
Lewis in Minnesota.
Oh gosh, they were going to destroy
Yes.
us. And then I decided, nope. And then
he decided,
no.
no.
I'm like, nope, not going to happen. Who did we play next?
I think you beat Indiana next. Or was
Indiana.
that?
Oh, yeah,
Indiana.
Nope, it was Indiana. I said, nope.
Yep.
I said, Bob Knight, see ya.
See ya.
Right.
Then you had Ohio State with
said,
Red
nope.
and Penn.
I said, not going to happen. Michael Red, get your shit out of here. Oh, sorry. Get your stuff out of here.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one. That question.
Get your stuff out of here. and then Michigan State.
With Mateen and the crew, right?
Oh, for half, I was all in, and I said, I'm kind of tired.
You know what? Yeah, I don't really want to play in the tournament.
I'm going to take a break. Right? Well, I had plans for spring break. If we had won, I couldn't do my spring break plans. So I said, you know what, guys?
Honesty.
You know what? I think I'm going to take this second half off. So you're no longer going to have these 2 points.
So now
and
you
one
know,
rebound.
Now you know
that I'm going to provide you.
why Illinois did not make the tournament Lucas Johnson's freshman year is because he decided